What is up, everybody? My name is Justin. This is Forever Self-Employed. In today's video, we're talking about how to get richer in 2023. The title is going to be how to get richer. And I got the richest people I know right here. Mike, Aaron, Cody, how's it going, guys?
Hey, Justin.
What's up, man?
We're going to spread some ideas on how you guys can do some wealth creation within your own life around a bunch of different topics, probably mindset, business, pretty much everything we talk about on a regular basis here. Before we jump into that, I do want to let you guys know Washcon is coming up. We have about 2 weeks left, and we're going to be going live at Cody's shop. It's going to be us four. So if you guys want to come in, learn from us in person, and get to meet all of us, have a great time, learn our secrets. We give a lot away on YouTube, but we don't give everything away, and that's for good reason, right? Because with this kind of information, people could be lethal. And I heard somebody say that unless you pay for the information, you really will take it for granted. So even if we did give you guys our best stuff for free away here on YouTube, and we do give a lot of great stuff away, you probably wouldn't do anything with it. Anybody else want to second that?
Well, yeah. So yesterday I sent you guys a little video of this guy. He was what was he, Cody?
He was a
ranger. He was a ranger. He was in the entry man, right? So he was the guy that created the charges that they put on the doors when they would blast open the doors, knock down the doors. And so this guy was saying that he was just talking about like people in general life, but he was equating it back to his experience as the main entry guy. So he was the first guy in the door, which is probably not the one that I would want to be in, but he was saying that he would, build the charge. He'd go up to the door, in the middle of the night, they were going to get the bad guys. And he put this charge on the door, which was specifically designed for that door. And he'd get away to what he called, what was it? A safe, minimum safe distance, which I thought was funny. So he takes his cord back, and then he said, and then 3 words come out, and it's execute, execute, execute. And on the third execute, he'd look back over his shoulder, and he'd see little green eyes of all his team, right, with their infrared goggles on. And on that third execute, he'd put power to the charge. It would blow the door. They'd kick in the door, and they'd go and they'd dominate their enemy. And he said that every morning when he wakes up, those are the 3 words that go through his mind is execute, execute, execute. And those 3 words, that is what differentiates those that become successful and those that continue to live the status quo and be who they're going to be for the rest of their lives, punching a clock, going through going through their day, not really ever going beyond what they possibly could. And if you execute, if you take the things that we're teaching and you execute, you implement, you're going to have success, right? And there's no guarantees, right? Just because you watch our videos, just because you take how to wash or the marketing course or local domination or how to build a rig with Cody, if you take any of those, you buy them and you don't implement, you don't execute, then it does you no good. So we can provide you with a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience to guide you in the right direction, to put you on the path to success. But unless you implement, then you're never going to achieve that success.
That's absolutely true. Another thing is a lot of these calls that we do, a lot of these lives are motivational, right? Like it gets you guys fired up. They get you guys in the right mindset for being successful within your business. But I think it was Jim Rohn who said this. He was like, I can't just come on here and be motivational, because if you have an idiot and you motivate them, then you just have a motivated idiot. So a lot of these things, I like what Mike said about execution, is we need to teach you guys the fundamentals in order for you to go and execute those things. It's not all about motivation. And that's some of the things we're going to be talking about at Washcon is solely the execution. We'll have a little motivation in there. Plus you'll be able to rub off on people with, like mindsets that are striving for more in their business. However, that's really the biggest thing is execution and finding those things that are going to really move the needle within your business. I'm going to go and pop up on the screen the Washcon so we can take a look at it and kind of break it down. Cody, you want to break it down? What's going to be going on at the shop, man?
Yep. So I'm actually sitting at Best Buy in the parking lot here. I'm going in there to get a new projector for the event. We're going to try to get a big screen so we can throw our PowerPoints and whatever stuff we got to throw up on the screen. But Friday will be for standard ticket holders. VIPs will be there as well. And that's going to be a ton of executable training, right? I like practical stuff. We go to church all the time. I love to hear those guys come through. We have different preachers come through, but I like the ones that have just practical sermons. Like like you're saying, it's high level up here, but can we bring that down into something I can actually implement into my life and try to, have a better quality of life, or in whatever area I'm trying to work on. So that's what Friday is. It's a ton of, here, do this, like, don't do that, do this. Kind of what Mike was saying. I don't really think there are very many lessons you can learn in business or life that are free. We put a lot of free stuff out there, and I've got a how to clean a driveway video that's basically everything you possibly need to know about cleaning a driveway. It's 25 minutes. I got a how to clean a roof video. It's pretty much everything you need to know. I still have guys come to the class on Fridays. They're picking up their equipment, and we kind of run back through some of those nuts and bolts things. And they're like, man, I didn't know that. So, but did you ever watch that? Yeah, I watched that video several times. You're going to pay that price somewhere. It's either in the daily grind over about the first year, maybe 18 months, through killing a plant, right? You'll pay for it that way. There's multiple ways that you can choose to pay for your education. So this is just a shortcut. All we're offering you guys is a way to condense that down into a 1 or 2 day event. So a lot of stuff on Friday. Me and Mike kind of segue together pretty good with the technical stuff. Of course, Mike's got a lot of systems that he'll be training them how to not die on the truck, because that's not a virtue. I know some people want to turn into a leather wallet on the truck and literally die like in real time. But if you want to scale and grow, that's what Friday's about. Washing equipment. We're going to look at some equipment. We're going to be giving away about a $13,000 piece of equipment there, a Mini Pro. And then Saturday for the VIPs, Aaron and Justin stuff don't matter. It's really just me and Mike. They're just there for hype. You don't need nothing. No, I'm just kidding. They're going to talk about a lot of marketing stuff. I've heard pieces of Aaron's spiel several times, and every time I hear it, I'm like, dang, I did not know that was a thing. There's a lot to that side of the business. So that's a big day, guys. If you're coming, bring a notepad and a clear brain, because you're going to fill it up. You're going to fill up a whole lot of info. And then Friday for VIPs, I don't think we got any VIP tickets left, maybe 1 or 2. But we're going to sit down round table style and go through your business, because if you got 10 guys in the room, they're all in different stages of business, and we can identify maybe 1 or 2 or 3 things that you could do and say, hey, you need to do this, right? The next guy, he may have that figured out and he needs to work on something else. So we'll do a little bit of bookkeeping, go through your books, your just basics of accounting, kind of how you want to set that stuff up. Emily's going to have a short presentation on Saturday, and then the rest of the day will be us deep diving into your business. And look, we get a lot of flack online because we're just bold enough to say, yes, we know what we're talking about. I don't talk about things that I don't know anything about. I don't do it. That's why I'm very, very solid on the things that I talk about, because I don't venture outside of my world. I am an expert in what I talk about. So in the last, I guess, 4 years, I've built a $10 million company. If you want to learn how to do that kind of stuff, you're not going to build a $10 million wash company. But if you want to learn how to take those concepts and plug them into a wash business so that you're not struggling for 2 seasons, come to Washcon. Hang out with us for a couple of days. It'll be fun.
Absolutely. Okay. Beautiful. So Washcon tickets will be linked in the comment section description of this video. We can kind of segue into the topic of today's video, how to get rich. Aaron, what are your thoughts, man, on how to get richer in 2023?
How to get richer in 2023, man. I really think that guys need to focus on becoming really good at one thing. And that's something that was, I think the clarity of that is very important, right? Because you may hear that sometimes, become really good at one thing. And the idea is to become really good is to live in the mind of your customer. That's what I want you to do this year. I want you to live in the mind of your customer. I want you to know what they eat, what they drink, what they drive, what they wear, their fears, their ambitions. I want you to know all of these emotions and these attachments that they have to where they're going in their life. This study happens to be ongoing. I'm going to be going over this in depth at Washcon as well on how to do this, how to distill this into a workable format that will provide you with a roadmap and you can implement into your business. I think knowing who your customer is and who buys from you a lot of times is about self-esteem, right? Because if you're broke and you're watching this right now and have $500 to your name, right? probably not going to see you at Washcon, right? You know, if you got a rent payment and you only got $500, well, rent in Nashville is $2,000. So you're probably not going to be coming in about 15 days. But for the other guys who have some money to invest, who want to learn how to get into the mind of their customer, which makes sales that much more fluid. The funny thing is when you study this type of thing, it starts making sales almost seamless. It reduces the selling process to almost something that's subliminal and something that the customer, there are no checkpoints and blockages, shall we say. It's just a seamless, what John Carlton would say, a greased slide to the money. And that's what we want in our business. So I think how to get rich in 2023 is going to be you guys diving into who your customer is and knowing those facets and more, that of which I'll be covering there in much more depth. But I think that will serve you the most this year.
Beautiful. I'm going to give a couple shout outs to the people in the chat, and we could probably answer a couple questions that we got as well. We got TC here with us. Big Russian Man says, I love you, Justin. Thank you, Big Russian Man. T-Pain Swimmer, what's up, guys? Olivier, I guess is how you said that. Hello from Hollywood, Florida. I didn't know there was a Hollywood in Florida.
Yes.
Juan, what's up, fellas? Love the content. We got Rod with us. Big Mac is here. Bayside Clean is here. I saw an interesting comment. Why can't you build a $10 million wash company? Just need a franchise.
Yeah, that's all you got to do. Just franchise it, man. He figured it out. You'll be the first person probably to do that. So I'm speaking in generalities. It is very difficult to build a $10 million wash company, or it'd be very difficult to build a $5 million wash company. I'm sure there's some out there. So don't take me that literally. It's just very hard to do. If we talk to 5,000 people, that are serious about getting into this business, you may have one that's like able to take it that far. Now we sell equipment to a franchise company that the entire franchise company is probably a $20 million company, but their washing niche is nowhere near that big. So anything could be, 10 milli, but it's like, that's going to be very, very difficult to do because you're limited to a region with a wash business, and franchising and going into other regions is just a lot of headaches. So yeah, it could be done, but it ain't something that nobody's really trying to do that. That'd be a big egg to crack.
I actually, about 7 or 8 years ago, I did get into the franchise game for a quick second. We sold 4 franchises. At that point, I was trying to go bigger than I probably should have at the time. We were selling the equipment. We were selling all of the marketing materials. We were selling all of the branding, basically taking All American and replicating it for other people. It was a bigger nut than I had anticipated. And unfortunately, it's just like what we talk about. You can buy education, you can go to school, right? You can go to college, you can go to high school, but if you don't implement, if you don't take the things that that are given to you and move forward with those things in the right way, then you're going to fail. And 3 of those 4 businesses failed. And it wasn't because of a lack of training, a lack of equipment, a lack of knowledge, anything like that. It was a lack of motivation. It was a lack of, I guess, just work ethic is really the bottom line. One of the guys, he was in the banking world. He went back to the banking world. So that was the 4th that, I don't know. It was a whole thing. But I'm actually probably going to dive a little bit into that here, probably at the end of this year, as far as a version of franchising. So it'll be interesting. So stay tuned for that.
I think a big piece to growing this big is going to be like market first and foremost. And then secondly, how optimized your business is for doing large amounts of business, right? Like to do $10 million, you're talking about crews, you're talking about a lot of equipment, you're talking about basically the opposite of what Aaron's entire philosophy is with lean and mean and maximizing like a one truck guy. So Aaron, kind of speak a little bit to why you would never want to move in this direction and why other people might kind of shy from it, because like we see the big 10 million number here, but like there's a lot more headache that goes into that 10 million, and that's top line. We're talking about a bunch of other expenses and things that go into that. So kind of speak to why you're lean and mean and why you'd never want to push that far out.
Well, I think lean and mean is a philosophy that obviously can be implemented into many businesses. Lean and mean is basically a Kaizen philosophy that I got from Shigeo Shingo from the Toyota production facility in Japan post World War II. He was a consultant that came in and basically invented the on time, right on time philosophy where there was very little waste. And the Japanese are really good at like just constant optimization of things. And so that was where I got that idea from. And also noticed that pressure washing has a low barrier to entry, but also has a high enough margin in our game to justify the lean and mean model, right? Whereas landscaping or lawn care, the margin isn't high enough for you to really justify the lean and mean model, meaning there's a ton of work that would go into it. So if you're riding the mower, all right, and you're cutting $50 lawns or $80 lawns or even $100 lawns, it's going to take you a good long while to somebody text. Okay, Mike's texting me. All right, it's going to take you a good long while, probably all afternoon, to make what a guy on a wash truck will make in maybe an hour or 2 hours. So the margins are really great. The lean and mean model is an idea that is implemented for a guy who doesn't want to stay just washing his whole life. He wants to make high margins, and then he maybe wants to invest in real estate, or he wants to start some sort of passive income on the side, something that these high margins can provide that a normal job wouldn't, with the time freedom, with knowing of the region, right? Like real estate would be great. So that's the idea behind the lean and mean model. And the other side of it is that I don't believe, like me, I don't believe that the majority of the population has the mental aptitude to be managerial enough to keep that many employees on staff. I think that's a very rare individual. I also think that individual is going to demand, whoever it is, a six-figure salary if they're going to start building multiple 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 trucks, right? I also believe that the market is going to have to be a major city somewhere in order to facilitate that amount of jobs for those 10 trucks. Guys don't understand that when you add trucks, and I'll let Mike speak to this, they don't understand that when you start adding trucks, you start having people's livelihood on your shoulders. Okay. And Cody can speak to this too, as far as equipment. People don't understand that. As soon as you add another truck and say you're doing a 2-guy per truck thing, you got 2 more guys whose livelihood that your marketing has to float. Now, if you go back to what I said earlier about knowing your customer, which means you have some type of coherence about marketing, okay, you know how good your marketing team has to be to float a second, third, fourth, fifth truck? Do you know how established that marketing has to be? How much print marketing? How much on Google ads? I got guys who won't spend $500 on Google ads a month.
Well, that is exactly the problem with growing a franchise, right? Think about this. If you're entering the business and you got Joe Blow's franchise, like what benefit do I have to buy into your franchise when I can just, like you said, low barrier to entry, I can just get my own rig and be lean and mean. So the marketing has got to be so, you're talking about millions of dollars to build a national name that a guy entering would want to buy into that franchise so that he feels like that name carries weight in the market. There's no such a thing as that in the United States. Like there's not a national, Mike's got a great name for it, All American Pressure Washing. That I was thinking about that the other day. Like if Mike ever wanted a franchise, it's a great name. But think about the reason you go to Best Buy is because there's billions of dollars that tells me they're not an idiot in there and I can get what I need, right? Same thing with Chick-fil-A right over there. Why would I buy into a Chick-fil-A versus opening a chicken restaurant myself? It'd be much easier. Well, it's because Chick-fil-A has billions of dollars to make that logo mean something. So
and the systems in place They've got all the structure is there, the infrastructure is there, which is the beauty, right? And you nailed it. They've got the bank accounts to build the brand, and the brand is of value.
Yeah. And there's guys that have done it. Definitely. I don't know that they got the we've got a number here we're talking about, 10 milli, but there's several guys I know that run franchises because we sell them equipment, and even other guys that I know. Aaron's brother's got a multi-truck operation, right? But there's just a lot of reasons why I would never go to a multi-truck, because it's just not. Probably 2 trucks, maybe a third. If we were in Atlanta, we're a little bit too far away from Atlanta to really tap that market. But you're talking about going to a national name, man. It could be done. Definitely could be done, but it's a stretch, man. Like that's a lot of you, and you've got a lot on the line, because what if that's a flop, right? If your wash truck is a flop, you'll recoup your equipment money, you'll make a profit, and you're really not out anything if you say, I don't want to do this on year 3, right? You've made money during that time. If something like that's a big deal, same thing we had a year ago. We had 120 systems in the queue, and we'd get a guy call and say, hey, I need to buy a rig. We're like, yep. At the time, we were like 10, 12 weeks out. Currently, we're about 3 or 4 weeks out. So we have switched that paradigm. But they were like, well, you should just hire some more guys. Like, yeah, it's easy, right? You just hire some more guys. You got to hire them. You got to train them. You got to onboard them. Then you've got to, like Aaron's saying, is sustain that, because I'm not the type of business owner that just is like, all right, times are tough, man. So you got to let you go. I will go without money to make sure that the company is in operational mode longer, because that's the goose that lays the golden egg. So there's just a lot of moving parts when you start scaling out. Washcon's really not to teach you how to do that. We're teaching how to get that one truck mentality to get profitable on that truck. And then you can take those principles and copy paste and keep growing your fleet if you want to do that.
Well, the beautiful thing as well is you can have access to Cody, who's sold millions and millions of dollars of equipment, Mike, who has multi-truck operation, and you can ask those kind of questions. I think when we start throwing out numbers like 10 million, we really get into an ego game, and that's where a lot of people trip themselves up with. They try to get too big for themselves too early on, and we've seen this a lot with guys like hiring secretaries or getting a physical location somewhere, and then you've created so much overhead for yourself. And like Cody mentioned, now you're having to support all of these people. So, Mike, you have multiple trucks, and that's the beauty about us coming together as a collective. Aaron has kind of coined the lean and mean model, and that's what he focuses on, and that's what's best for him. Mike, on the other end, has multiple trucks. So, Mike, speak to the benefits of multiple trucks, but also speak to the fact that, like, taking ego out of it and realizing that, maybe washing will only take you so far. You can only maximize your market so far, and there needs to be other wealth creation things in there as well.
Right. Well, so Aaron's model is the lean and mean model. Aaron has coined that phrase, and that is how I run my business as well, right? It doesn't matter if you've got 1 truck or you've got 3 trucks, right? Or 10 trucks. Every truck should be run based on that lean and mean model, because if you're not running it like that, then you're a jackass, because it only makes sense to run lean and mean, to know your numbers, to be profitable at every single level, right? That's what lean and mean is. It doesn't mean you're poor. It doesn't mean that you're running on a shoestring budget. Hell, that is the complete opposite. Aaron just said he's got guys that he helps and talks to that are unwilling to spend $500 on Google Ads. $500, yeah, you could spend $1,000, you could spend $5,000 and still have that mean and lean, or that lean and mean mentality. So I think, they all kind of go hand in hand. Once you start getting a little bit bigger, adding more trucks, then you need more systems in place. And that comes, with that comes implementing, a bunch of different things, because, if you're just one guy, you can probably manage a lot of the things for that one truck. But when you start having multiple employees, multiple trucks, multiple trailers, all of these things, lots and lots of customers, then it can become completely and utterly overwhelming. And when you become overwhelmed, you can get burned out. You can want to throw in the towel. If you're not getting support from friends and family, it becomes, a bigger issue than just, washing. So the systems, implementing the things that are going to make your life easier, taking out those, I don't want to say menial tasks, but, the $10, $15 an hour tasks, and systemizing them, automating them, so you're not having to deal with those on a daily basis. You spend the time up front to make these things happen. You push play, and then it starts going, and then you can focus on other things, whether that's growth, that's marketing, whether that's sales, all of those things. So multiple truck, one truck, same mentality, but I think as you scale, you need to have more systems in place to help you control and manage your business. But we said at the beginning of this that the title of this video is going to be how to get richer. And Aaron talked at the beginning, which was great. I wanted to say a few things and give you guys some actionable steps that can help you to get richer this year, right? And it's not necessarily wash related, right? Yes, increase your prices. That goes without saying. Get leaner and get meaner, right? That goes without saying. The less you spend and the more you can charge, the more money you're going to make. That goes without saying. But the first thing that I think that you should do, if you haven't already, is set goals, right? Set goals, write them down. You need to have something that you are aiming for. If you're not aiming for anything, then you're just going to flounder, right? You got to have that mentality of that guy that wakes up every single morning and says, execute, 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 right? Set goals. And then, every day you have to work towards hitting those goals. The second thing is you have to have a plan for the future, right? And I think a lot of people that get into businesses like this, low threshold to enter, right? I can get a pressure washer. I can go out there and squirt some water and some bleach and I'm going to make a couple bucks, right? You can make good money doing this. But unless you have a plan, then you're just always going to be doing that, right? It's going to be day by day, week by week, month by month, and then you're going to be some, crusty old leather dude on a truck that's been doing it for 80 years. And that's probably not where you want to be. You got into this for financial freedom, for time freedom, right? Those are the things why people have that entrepreneurial spirit, why they want to go out on their own. So have a plan. The next thing, I'm going to sound like your dad, but try to avoid debt at all costs. Like I said, low entry to get in. You can spend a tremendous amount of money. You don't have to, but I would say don't go crazy right at first and get into a tremendous amount of debt. Build into it. Make some money. Reinvest in your business. The more debt that you assume, the more debt you have to pay back. And that's not something that you probably want hanging over your head. So that was the third thing. And then number 4, I would say is, you have to save, right? Avoid debt, but also save for the rainy day, save for your future. Like, are you guys investing in your, like a retirement plan, right? Even if you're 20 years old, you want to be thinking about the future. You don't want to be washing when you're 40 years old, when you're 50 years old, when you're 60 years old. You don't. You need to plan for the future. So I would suggest you save at least 15% of every single job that you do, put it in a separate account and commit to not touching that. Okay. That's 15% immediately goes into an account that you do not touch ever. That's for the future. Find an account, get an accountant, get somebody that can help you, maybe your banker that can put you in something that's got a decent return on it. Right. But I would do that. And then number 5 is, also put a percentage away for your war chest, right? Because at some point your engine is going to blow up. Your pump is going to shit out. You're going to have to rebuild the transmission in a truck. You're going to have to buy a new truck. You want to add a new truck, a new trailer, a new employee. All of that takes money. But if you're just washing by the day, right, and you don't have a plan, you're not saving, you don't have a war chest set aside, it's going to be real hard to scale. It's going to be real hard to grow. So those are the actionable steps that I think that if you take and you implement, then you can, you will see significant growth this year in your net worth. So those are the other things. And then I guess the most important is, in order to truly gain, significant wealth or just being in a better place than you are now, is to know your worth. I say it all the time. You got to know your worth, right? Don't ever think just because you're out there washing that you're not worth charging what you should be charging. Or you should know what your numbers are. You know what you need to make to be profitable. You have goals. You've set those goals and you're trying to achieve those goals. So don't ever concede pricing. Don't ever back down on your pricing. The market will tell you where you need to be to some extent, but always be pushing, because if you truly know your worth, you can charge for that. You can build that trust with your customer base. You go after those customers like Aaron was talking about that are going to help you succeed. And you're going to see the payoff. So that's my thing.
Okay, beautiful. Does anybody want to segue off of that?
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about, guys, they're talking a little bit about the $10 million thing and play off of what Mike's saying. He's exactly right. I think people don't understand that this one big glaring piece of the puzzle is that I do a lot of marketing on Google, and a lot of it is website driven. You guys know that if you watch my channel at all. It's all about at the end of the day, it's about copious amounts of free leads from Google. Free in relativity, whatever you're paying for your website. Eventually, at the end of the day, it becomes kind of free. Okay. It's not expending tons of amounts of money in print or anything like that. The lean and mean model can support from Google and some Facebook ads and stuff like that and be more than busy. Okay. But what I don't think guys think when they start talking about the 3 to 4 or 5 truck business or the 10 truck business, God forbid, is that those businesses in the eyes of Google are not preferential to the lean and mean business. And this is one thing that I found out early is that the lean and mean business, I can look like a $10 million business, but also just have one truck. See, if I know Google and I can manipulate it in my favor, manipulate my SEO in my favor to garner those leads, I can look as big as the $10 million guy. And a lot of guys don't understand that. They think because, okay, say a franchise comes up, they may believe, and I don't know why they would believe this, but maybe they do, that Google would say, oh, well, that's a franchise. We're going to put them at the top. Nope. They start where everybody else starts, at the bottom. And you're going to find that if you look around in your area, the guys at the top of Google are lean and mean guys. There may be one person who's sitting at the top of some certain area who has 3 or 4 trucks. Maybe. I know in my area, they're all lean and mean. They're all like 2 trucks tops who are sitting at the top of Google. And so we're talking about this Sisyphus rock that people are wanting to push up this hill and building this franchise out. You're going to not only get to do that with that location, but now you have to extend that to the other locations that you intend to start. And you also have to explain to them, because believe me, you should know how hard it is to explain to young guys that it takes time. Like when you tell them it's like a baby tree and you have to water it and it's got to grow, and next summer it's going to be bigger than it was this summer, and the third year it's going to be even bigger than it was the next summer, right? It's like that concept is so hard to grasp. We're like this Amazon microwave society where we want the food to heat up in 12 seconds flat. That's not how this works. And so guess what? You guys, if you're wanting to start the franchise thing, I want to ride on this because on why I'm a lean and mean dude. You're going to get to float that business somehow, whether it's through print, whether it's through $5,000 a month in Google ads, to supplement the lack of SEO in that first year for that location of the franchise. You're going to get to do that. And you got people's livelihoods on the line. You got a guy definitely who's wanting to make 6 figures because he owns it, right? He's expecting to do that. And then he's got his other workers out there. There's so much that goes into building that multi-location idea that I think you would be better off personally investing in multifamily and renting all of those tenants out and collecting that check, and have your pressure washing business be lean and mean, and maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 trucks making multiple 6 figures, something that is manageable, something that is easy to, that you're not racking your brain and having people calling you for collection and wanting percentages and all this stuff down the line. So that's what I want to permeate into this call, is the expectation. They don't understand how long it takes. And with now, we're going to be going over this at Washcon. Is 2023 brought a ton of changes to Google. Okay. They are working on what is called an EAT platform, an expertise. It's expertise, authority, and trust, where they are going much more into the site, to where the site is not necessarily built through keywords. It's built more along the lines of, is the site trustworthy? enough to rank. And that comes a lot from structure. That comes a lot from the content that's on the site, because now you can't just write content that's filled with keywords. They're even going deeper into that. We thought they extinguished this in 2004. No. They're going even deeper into the authority of who of the subject matter, of who is the authority on the subject matter written, because they're wanting to give the user the best situation possible and results. So I think it's going to be a really good event. I hope you guys will get your tickets. I know there's a few tickets left. And as Leonard Tixay says, leaner and meaner than my air fryer. Damn, dude, I need to get on that. You dang right, bud.
I think that's the only thing that Leonard pulled from this. Microwaves suck at heating up fries. I use my air fryer.
That is absolutely true. I never true word stated.
Excellent. So yeah, when we talk about getting richer in 2023, maybe that's time freedom. Maybe that's having the ability to make decisions for yourself. Maybe that isn't reflected, solely within financially, but it could be as well. I think one of the biggest things that people drop the ball on is not backwards engineering success. I think it was, I don't know if Tony Robbins said this, but success leaves clues, right? If we look at the people at the top, there's certain things that the people at the top are doing that if we're at the bottom, we're not doing. And we're only a few moves away from replicating that success within our business. So, Cody, do you want to speak to a couple of things that, can really make a difference in someone's business this year?
Yeah.
Report to that perspective.
We've gotten like, we're on a tangent with this, but I do like it. And we can kind of bring them together because like Aaron was he kicked the video off by saying, get really good at one thing. So it's shiny object syndrome in a way, because there is another company that builds equipment that is a franchise. They've got, I think, 3 or 4 locations in the US. And I could say, well, I want to do that, right? I've got people in Australia chomping at the bit. I got a guy in Norway chomping at the bit. I could open a store in Texas, but I've not done those things, and I will not be doing those things because I've done the calculation that some of the magic is in what we have with the appeal of that location in Roanoke, right? There's some secret sauce that you may not be able to replicate. Me and Aaron have had guys at Serious Starter boot camp. So we don't do Serious Starter anymore. We kind of just do Washcon. So, but we've had guys come to Serious Starter, and it's in the name, Serious Starter. So what we're trying to do is teach you how to become a master of your craft, right? Here's a katana. Here's how to use it. Here's a weekend where you can get some practice. And 30 minutes into katana introduction, they're like, but what about ninja stars? But what about nunchucks? But what about smoke bombs? But I don't know why I'm doing a Jordan Peterson voice, but what about the little size that Raphael had, right? Yes, all of those things, you can kill people with those things too. But first, let's master the katana, because you may be Musashi and just not know it. You may not need nothing but the katana, right? So I have a saying at the shop. I have several sayings at the shop. Number one saying at the shop is, don't do your best, do Cody's best. Like, don't do your best, do what I would do. But my other saying that I like is, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And as you're growing your business, and unless you're talking to me from a position of you've already done multi 6 figures a year, like you're probably hurting yourself. That's why we're kind of talking you out of this, is you're probably going to step on a landmine trying to, we had a guy, he's in the inner circle now. He's a good dude. And I told him this to his face. I was like, bro, your worst enemy is going to be you. Aaron, you remember this guy at the last Serious Starter?
Yeah.
Because we couldn't even get through the topic, and he was absorbing the info, but he's got one of those minds where he's like, boom, what about that? That thing right there may not be a bad thing, but it's the lady in the red dress in the Matrix, right? It makes Neo turn and look, and then boom, there's a gun in your face. So figure out what you're doing. If it's working, keep in that lane. Now, the other side of that coin is, once you've mastered that, don't be afraid to pick up another revenue stream. Like we've got other stuff that we do, and we don't talk about it a whole lot on these channels because these are pressure washing channels. But we're to the point now that I can take that hat off, hand it to somebody, and I've got now some free time. I can start another, could be real estate, could be whatever, could be a million things, right? Mike used to have a lawn care channel and doing that stuff as well. That's fine. We're not saying not to pursue the ultimate unicorn dream, but just make sure you're doing it in a calculated manner. Mike just talked about being really careful with debt, right? What he didn't say is don't take on any debt. Some debt is tactical and it makes sense and you've thought it through. I took on debt when I bought the shop, right? I could have kept building them in the backyard, but it was tactical debt. The building had upside in it the day I bought it. I couldn't fail there. If I sold it, I would have made 50 grand. Okay. So there's debt, but you see, it's a calculated debt, right? We don't do these things just haphazardly. You gotta, there's always like an ebb and a flow to these things. But on the other, to Mike's point, you don't want a ton of debt because that's going to be, there's really no need for a ton of debt if you're just having a wash truck. So don't go crazy on that, but you could click lease a trailer and maybe you say, my market is right for the pickings. I know I can close jobs. Like I've proven that. The only thing that's holding me back is decent equipment. I've got 10 grand. I'm going to throw that down, lease the rest. I get to section 179, all those payments. So the trailer is basically my first job. You could do the math and be tactical about it. Just don't go crazy in any area. Don't go crazy in growth. If you want to get richer in 2023, I think where we usually fail, here's your pyramid. It's mindset, tactics, skill, and gear. And we usually fail at mindset or tactics. We just do stuff as guys. And I know the guys in the chat are probably like me, and I'm guilty of that. That's why we try to talk about it a lot. We just kind of throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. That's okay if you've got a day job. But if this is your livelihood and this has to work, you need to be really careful. Have a business plan. Research your market. How many competitors are in your local market? Can you drive another 20 minutes and pick up 3 more towns, right? These are all things. You wouldn't start Mike, would you start a wash business in freaking Phoenix, Arizona? I wouldn't. There's no humidity out there, right? There's not a lot of organic growth. And so even something as simple as where are you geographically located in the United States? Savannah's a great market. It's freaking humid there every day, right? Everything's dirty and constantly getting dirty. So we need to look at the lay of the land, right? That Breacher guy, like you were talking about, they won the battle the day before. And that's really what Washcon's about. It's teaching you how to win the battle. You're playing chess and the enemy's playing checkers. You've already won this game. Let me throw this out there and I'll stop talking. But here's my tip of how to get richer in 2023. Do the systems. Do everything above board. Pay your taxes. Do all of the stuff the right way. You may not be able to start that way. You may be so broke that you literally can't afford to do it, we'll say the right way. But start doing that as quickly as you can because your net worth is going to increase. You want to be able to show, right, that this company is doing X, Y, and Z. I've got an app right here. The entire company is basically ran right there on that app. It's called Monday. You could use a bunch of different ones. Quote IQ. It's a good thing to use because if you're doing everything on pen and paper and then you want to sell this company in 3 years, the potential buyer is going to say, well, what are your metrics here? Well, I need to know this number, this number, this number. Well, I got some papers in here somewhere in my dash up under all these packs of crackers and Mountain Dew bottles. You want to do these systems and not look at them as a waste of money, but look at it as you're putting everything on the line. Now, if I need to go get a $2 million loan, I can say, hey, bro, we did X in 2022. I paid X amount of $100,000 taxes in 2021, right? Do I want to pay them? No, I don't want to pay them, but I'd rather do it legit because it makes the company legit. So what does that do for my net worth? My net worth is no longer, I just squirreled away all the cash, right? I can't do anything with it anyway. I'd rather have it through legit channels, even though we don't necessarily agree with those channels. Everything is above board. And so what does that do to my net worth? Now I'm worth, put 2 commas in it, right? Now we've got millions of net worth instead of hundreds of thousands, but it's real liquid. So do everything right. Do everything as soon as you can. Get insured. I was talking to somebody the other day that trying to do everything through PayPal because they don't want to open a business checking account because it'll get taxed. You're going to get taxed. You're going to get taxed. Just do it the right way. And that's going to grow your net worth. So don't look at everything as just a cash flow. That is a consideration, but you want to make sure that you're paying your dues so that you're growing an actual company one day that you could sell for a hefty profit if that's the case.
I want to say, well, for Cody, if we look at 3 different points for how do we get richer with an existing business, right? And these are all things we're going to cover at Washcon. first and foremost, our marketing, right? How can we bring in more leads? How can we make it to where we can afford to lose leads? We can become choosy with jobs. We can start raising our prices. Really, like that's one of the fundamental pieces, right? Marketing. How do we become better? How do we rank higher on Google? How do we drive in more free lead flow into our business? Secondly, how do we make more money with existing customers, right? Everybody who's calling us, how do we cross sell? How do we upsell? How do we contact client lists that have been previous clients, offer them new offers, right? And then thirdly, how do we become more efficient in our business? How do we quote faster? How do we, on a day-to-day operation side of the business, how do we wash faster so we can fit another job in towards the end of the day? A lot of these principles come down to, as Cody mentioned, looking at who's at the top and how do they run their business, right? How does a business with multiple employees run their whole operation? And that's one of the benefits of coming to Washcon. We're going to break it down for you. I'm going to be breaking down Facebook ads. Aaron's going to be breaking down Google. Mike's going to be breaking down the multi-truck situation. And Cody's going to help you with that efficiency on the job site, with the upsells, with the chemical upsells, and all these different things. But those are the three pieces, right? How do we get more customers? How do we get those customers to pay us more money? And then how do we become more efficient at performing the job and quoting and doing all the processes that kind of come in between those, as well as keeping track of things like Cody mentioned before. But those are my three main movers. Anybody else have anything else we want to add on to that, you guys?
Washcon Live, February.
Washcon Live. Absolutely. Let's see if we have any questions in the chat. I do believe that they passed a bill or passed something that PayPal and Venmo, the government passed something that now all those are tracked and they have to be.
Everything is tracked, and I can't remember what the threshold is, but it's
$600.
Yeah, $600. If you are paid over $600 from anybody, they are going to report it. It's that simple. You got to think about it from the business's perspective. PayPal and Venmo and all those, are not going to pay your taxes for you. They are going to pass that along. Every employee, even if they work, 3 weeks for me before I fire them, I'm going to give them a 1099 a W-2, because they are going to pay taxes. I'm not going to pay taxes for them. I'm going to take that right off of my top end number and let them take care of that. So is everybody else, all your payment processors.
Right? Yep. I mean, we get that. The guys at the shop they'll try it. I'll give them a bonus every once in a while if they, hit a metric. Can we get that in cash? Like, no, you're going to get a check, because you're talking about, a lot of money at the end of the year. So we have to do that, because there's not as much margin in any business as people would like to think there are. You've got to watch all that stuff. And so you shouldn't be, subcontracting things out. Be careful. That's another thing. Mike said 1099, just a slip there, but W-2. Don't try to 1099 guys that are not 1099able. It's not the right way to do it. You don't want that lawsuit, dude. You don't want it. If they're working for you, using your equipment, you cannot 1099 them. They have to be a W-2 employee. It's like, it ain't a thing you want to play with.
I think a big point is that you can't side hustle your way to being rich, right? You'll never side hustle your way to being rich. So for any of you guys who are like, I'm going to skirt taxes on this end by PayPaling, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to keep the records on the, with my notepad, because then I'm not trackable. Like, you're not going to get rich. You're not going to get full-time income side hustling, trying to maneuver and do these kind of things.
Here's the thing, man. Like, side hustling, you have to think of it this way. Like, how does that pay you long term?
Right.
I'm here to pay taxes for the knowledge that I get in hiring accountants and bookkeepers, and the knowledge that I get in working with attorneys who set up trusts and set up LLCs for me and all of these things. And I mean, I've had to pay for every cent of the knowledge, but the knowledge is what is going to make you rich. Okay. Because sooner or later, if you're trying to get rich, you're going to get to do this process. And if you're trying to skirt it all the time, like, oh, I'm going to get $589 in cash, and then I'm going to get the rest in a check. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to just work the system. Eventually that's going to become really exhausting. And then it's going to cost you, as soon as your accountant says, hey, did you file last year? And you say no. And you're actually making some money now, right? You're going to hit like 6 figures and above this year. And your accountant's like, well, we need to file last year. And you're like, I don't want to file last year. And they're like, I don't think you understand. the IRS doesn't care how you feel about filing last year. And so what you're going to get is you're going to get a penalty for last year, and then you're going to get to pay this year's taxes. I remember the first year I couldn't afford to pay taxes, man. I was in like just a terrible divorce situation. Again, you guys know I had like $500 to my name when I started this thing in 2016, and I couldn't pay my taxes that year. I was living off of every cent I made. It was a terrible thing. But you know what I did have to pay the next year? An $8,000 penalty. I had to pay an $8,000 penalty to the IRS plus the taxes I owed for that coming year, right? Because they were coming back to get that money. So you have to understand that at the end of the day, it was worth it. At the end of the day, I figured out how to hire the right people. I figured out how to delegate my bookkeeping and my accounting, because I surely just despise dealing with anything that's in a spreadsheet. I may get an immediate headache, immediate migraine, and I'm willing to pay somebody else to do it for that reason. And it's worth every cent. Obviously, I look over it before anything is filed, and I make sure everything's in line, and I make sure that all of my write-offs that are possible write-offs are in there. But this is why you want to be above board. It is not necessarily to not get in trouble. That's a big deal. But the other half is, like Jim Rohn used to say. Jim Rohn says, become a millionaire not for the money, but for who you have to become in the process of becoming a millionaire. Okay, become a millionaire for who you have to become, for the knowledge that you have to purchase to learn. Because the average person, I'm going to tell you, the 1% in this world makes $400,000 a year. The 1%, it's 400 grand, which in the scope of things is okay money, right? It's good money, sure, but knowing those people, even the 1% have accountants. The 1% have bookkeepers. The 1% are paying their taxes. So if you ever want to become the 10% and up, 5%, 1% of the population, which I'm sure everyone watching this wants to become that, you need to start paying these people. And I'll tell you, writing the first check to my accountant for $2,000 or whatever it was when I was first getting started to get the whole thing and all the bookkeeping done up and the filing and everything, it was worth every cent, because now it's super seamless. Now I'm on quarterly. Now they check in with me. Boom, boom, boom. It's an email. It's 2 emails and it's done. But now you know the system and how to go back to manipulate this for your next businesses that you're going to build.
Right. Absolutely.
And get Quote IQ. It's a good investment. Sloan Dawning, you're correct.
To speak to Aaron's point, you become who you are, not who you wish to be, right? So if you wish to be something, you must become it first, right? You can't talk about building a $10 million wash company and you're running all your money through PayPal because you don't want the government to see it, or you're running through the notebook, right? We must become that top 20% in order to become the top 20% or the top 1%, right? How do these people move? How do these people think? What do these people do on a day-to-day basis, right? That's why Washcon is so important. Come hang out with Cody, Cody, flex some numbers. What did we do last year?
Right at 8 million. Since we went full time, we're over 20 million. Like, I didn't keep good numbers. It was stupid on me. I didn't keep good numbers the first year, but
you PayPal'd it, huh, Cody?
It's hard to calculate because now we've got products, like the Batch Buster valve. Aaron, what's that worth? Just that product line is probably worth, I don't know. I'd be scared to even guess.
A lot.
Multi-million dollar. The same thing with the guys with the app. It's saying we're always pushing the envelope. So just a number in the bank is one metric, but I've got assets. I've got physical assets. But how do you do that stuff? I didn't know how to do that stuff. Nobody taught me how to do that. I haven't done everything right, but we figure out what works and we keep doing that. And we're tactical. We do things. I needed a mezzanine 2 years ago. We needed to expand some floor space. I had a quote for $250,000 to build one out of metal. And I was like, that sounds like a lot. So we built one out of timber frame. It's just as strong. And it was like $50,000. And I was able to write a check for $50,000 and pay the guy to come in. I paid him extra to build it in a short amount of time because they were in the way. So we needed it done quickly.
Cody, go into the mentality though of that, right? All right, I want to focus on the mezzanine real quick and the writing of the check for $50,000. All right, just for storage.
Yeah,
like,
basic
ain't gonna make you no money, right? It's not like a direct money maker, right? It's not a bulldozer that we can start going clearing land, you know what I mean? Where a guy, of course, a bulldozer is gonna be hundreds of thousands, or say a wash rig for 30, right? They get a wash trailer from you, it's right at 30 grand. The guy can take that and go do jobs tomorrow, right? That's a direct line to money. It's very quick to cash, right? Quickest way to cash. A mezzanine for $50,000, that damn thing just sits there and
Right.
holds stuff, right? But why? How do you get to the mentality where you're writing checks for stuff like that are very important, that can change the layout and change the how do I say this, the functionality and the ability to facilitate to customers, right? Because if you didn't have the storage, then what would you run into?
Well, we would.
I want to add one other thing, Cody, and kind of speak to like the leveling up of that, because for somebody hearing, you know, you writing a check for 50,000, they probably can't relate to that. The thing is, though, is when the check was 1,000, when the check was 5,000, when the check was 10,000, Cody wrote it, and that was the only way he got to the 50,000. And if he cuts the check for 50, that means he's going to be willing to cut the check for 100, 250, $500,000. And when you do these things, you start leveling up. So kind of speak to that as well, Cody.
Well, I'm writing another one next week for 20,000, and what we're doing is we're expanding the concrete outside so that we can, number one, stop getting stuck on the forklift. But we're adding about, I guess it's going to be about 3,500 square feet of concrete on the back. It's currently gravel and then dirt. So we're going to dig all that out, take it down so that the shop level is at the floor of the shop will basically walk out onto it's covered back there. It'll be the same level so that we can drive the forklift around, right, and not get stuck. That's time savings. Number two, potentially tearing up a forklift. So there's a potential boo-boo there. But the big thing is we're going to be able to expand our rack capability and double the amount of chems that we can keep on hand. So we keep a ton of chemicals on hand, but now I'm going to be able to keep about 35, 36 pallet slots of chemicals, pallets, 36 individual pallets of different chems. Some of those will be duplicate pallets, you know. So why are we doing that? With the rack and everything, we'll probably be about 25 grand total. Why are we doing that? Because last week we ran out of Dynamite Degreaser and Southern Draw, two of our more popular chemical lineups. So there's lost revenue right there. There's also the loss of a guy. All of Aaron's marketing efforts, we get the guy to go to the site, it's out of stock. He never comes back again, right? You can't quantify that. So we're going to spend $20K. Same thing with the mezz. We dropped $50K on the mezzanine, and I paid the dude I gave him like $5,000 extra to do it in 3 days instead of a week because we needed to get in there and do some work. So I've just learned, and this is not in my nature, I've just learned to not. We get so many compliments when guys come to the shop. They're like, man, golly, I went to other shops and it was just tanks everywhere and broke down stuff and piled up hoses and stuff. Our shop looks like a museum, and we're the largest on the planet of what we do. We ship things internationally almost weekly now. So, I'm reading a comment here. The product from Cody to buy for black algae on stonework. That's just called bleach, my dude. So he made a comment earlier and was asking, he said he called the shop and left a voicemail. Guys, please understand, January, February, March is very busy for us. And here, I'll make a point out of this. We can't answer the phone fast enough. Jonathan has about 200 emails a day. And so here's what I could do. I could say, well, I'll just hire another person to answer the phone. That's not a good tactical move for us. You call, or you did call and ask a question. It wasn't a question that led to any money. Just being honest, we don't sell. There's not such a thing as something we sell that leads to, algae on, right? So Cody doesn't have that chemical. You were a little misinformed. You might have watched a video and thought we had a chemical for black algae on stonework. That's just called bleach. And it's not that my guys would have probably never got back to you, but if you got this call that's a $20,000 rig and this call that's, I don't know what bleach is, right? We have to make a decision there. And it's not that we're cold-hearted or don't want to answer your question. You simply can't field all the phone calls. So a thing we're looking at doing is Answer Force. We're probably going to sign up with Answer Force by the end of the month. And that's a check. That's about a $6,000 a month check for the amount of call volume we do, so that those guys don't feel like we left them hanging, but they can get an answer. It's in an email. Jonathan can type it up, shoot the guy an answer back when he can, right? So then we didn't miss that guy. Now that guy is not really buying anything, but we want to try to answer the question if we at all possibly can. So the poor tactical thing to do would be to hire a 22-year-old chick and pay her $15 an hour and get, Aaron, do you want me to have that headache? Probably not, because I'll kill myself with my own Wilson Combat.
We've been there before, man.
We've been there.
We ain't going back.
Don't want that. But a good tactical solution, we're going to make that shape charge for this door, right? And the solution might be Answer Force, because I make him work a deal with them to get it cheaper. You know, we'll figure all that stuff out. So it's just a fear of writing the check a lot of times that's it's going to hold guys back. And you just got to understand, you're going to probably write some bad ones. You're probably going to lose, you know, $1,000. I could lose 50 grand on a bet, but it's a tactical, calculated bet that I'm doing out of data. I always say this: data drives decisions. I go out to the range. I've got a very nice rifle under the seat. I don't shoot one shot and start adjusting my scope. I'll shoot a 5-shot group, and then we'll start fiddling in with a dope chart, right? We don't just shoot one thing and make a bet. We're going to get some data. So make sure you've got some data. And that's what's going to drive you to make better calculated decisions. They're not so risky. It's always a risk, but you don't want to have unnecessary risk.
Right. But the biggest point of the whole of this whole discussion was, if you're afraid to write the checks in the beginning, you will never get to the point where you can write those bigger checks. So it's the willingness to bet on yourself, and that you will, you know, make the right decision. And like Cody said, it's all baby steps, right? No one's going to just like start a business and have to write a $50,000 check, right? But write the $1,500 check, write the $2,000 check, like add in small steps along the way. And this is how you grow a big business. I want to segue to Cody, because this guy says, who knows what else I want to buy? That is a small thinking. I had other questions. I'm sorry you're busy. And I want to speak to the entitlement of people, right? Like, yeah, dude, you could hop in the inner circle. It's $149 a month, and we go live in there twice a month, and we answer your business questions. We answer every single question that comes in on there, because those people have priority. They're paying customers. I don't know if gaming has ever even bought anything from you, Cody, but there's a priority. And just because you think that your question takes priority over somebody else,
you know, he probably ain't bought nothing. And I was trying to be nice earlier, but I won't now. But, you know, we're not Google. But because we're out there in the public, people think, oh, just call Southeast Softwash and ask them. And what that turns into is 20 minutes on the phone of, well, hey, while I got you on the phone, I got another question. This is literally all day with us. And it's, how do I downstream? How do I do this? What about this? What about that? On a personal level, we don't mind answering those questions. On a professional level, if I did that, we'd go out of business, and we wouldn't be here to help you on a for real thing, right? Who knows what else I was going to buy? I guarantee you ain't never made any real money in your life. And so you don't understand. Like, I can't call John Deere and ask them questions about farming. They'll be like, what? And they'll hang up. I can't call Best Buy and just call this Best Buy and say, hey, listen, I got a question. I'm trying to get my laptop. They're like, hold on a minute. We have this thing called Geek Squad that you can pay, right? So we have a thing. It's called Ask SESW. It's an email. It's a bulk email I created about a year ago for people that we get homeowners that call, and they're like, they've seen a video, you know, and it's 30 minutes. I'm paying a guy probably $25. Listen, dude, I don't care. I wouldn't sell you one now anyway. Actually, I wanted to buy a truck setup. You're probably a real estate agent that's like, hey, if you clean this roof, I got a lot of leads for you. You know, it could be that he was, but he's thinking that we exist to help him. I wish that I had that magic bullet that I could just pay the guys at the shop to talk to people on the phone all day. But we have to make those decisions, and it sounds harsh. It does. But if you're on the backside and you understand business, let me put it in perspective for a wash guy. You're out there running your wash truck, and you get 10 phone calls a day. Your phone rings. You've done your marketing. Your phone's ringing. And three or four of those phone calls are a homeowner asking you how they can do it themselves. That's the equivalent of what we're getting, right? And at some point, you're just going to have to cut those off and be like, listen, I can't stay on the phone with you. Justin, how many hours of information have I put on YouTube that they could just go source it for free, right? They could join the inner circle. They could come to Washcon. But you're not going to do any of that. You're just going to complain because I have to make a profit to be able to stay here to exist. You know, shame not. There's just no way around it, dude. It's just, this is reality. So I wish like the pops on you, and I hope you are. Hope you have a great day. But ain't nothing I can do for you, dog.
Hey, look, we do exist to help people to a certain extent, right? We put all these videos out there. We're doing a lot of different things, but the amount of messages I get on a day-to-day basis of like, Justin, here's my situation. What equipment should I get? Right? Well, what equipment you should get is probably the same as anybody else who wants to start a business. And we've made 30 videos collectively between us about what equipment you need. Me and Cody made about an hour video on all the different chemicals that you need to clean pretty much every surface on a residential job site. Cody's point is completely right. Imagine if homeowners were messaging you asking for help on how they can clean their siding. It's like, they're not spending any money. Why am I going to sit here and explain, well, you need to go get some sodium hypochlorite from the pool store. And the way that you're going to want to mix this is you're going to want to mix it with this much water to this much bleach ratio because that's good for the siding. It's like, you don't owe them anything. So
I think that people, you know, like,
go ahead, Aaron. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I find it's like those types of people that then they want to be the most vocal and like downing your business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what I found is good. Like, do it. Like, spread the noise. Tell everyone that I'm a terrible I'll embellish it. Right? He's every buzzword 2023 can give you from the media, right? That's Aaron. And I'll be like, sure, I'll agree with you. Because here's the thing. Those type of people, I don't want their friends calling me.
No.
Because their friends are like them. See? People are a lot of times, and this scares a lot of guys, right? And I'm going to tie this back into a wash truck. Is that like, oh, no, they're going to leave a 1-star review. Okay, street cred. Come on, man. I'll respond to it, and we'll make sure that the public knows the other side too, right? Because usually the best customers, well, here's what they do. They call you, and if it's for washing, they say, hey, man, I got this house. It's about it's like 10,000 square foot. I need it cleaned. When can you do it? And I say, all right, let me look at it. Cool. That's going to be $5,000. We can do it at this time. Great, man. All right. Just put me down for that. Do you need a deposit? I want to lock in that slot. They're asking me. Those are the best customers. See?
Yep.
And it trickles down from there, right? To where the person's like, no, I want you to teach me how to wash it. I want you to navigate me through the mixing of the bleach. I'm a homeowner, right? I'm calling you, wanting you to do all this stuff. And then they never buy anything. They never call you back. And if you can imagine how many calls you get a day that would have to field those types of questions from those types of individuals, if you are going to be the person who talks to them, I'm going to send them to you. I'm going to say, hey, so-and-so up the street, he's great. You know what he does? He doesn't even wash. He just sits around and answers homeowners' questions. And they don't, and he's the perfect person that you should call. And they were like, well, you're kind of an asshole. You should answer me. Nah, I'm not an answering question business. I run a business. See, I don't run a charity. And so runs a charity called the Answer My Wash Questions
Charity
for homeowners. And that's what he does.
Well,
and you have to be like unashamed to be that person because it's not personal, right? That's what a lot of people want to take it. They take it personal. And what that means is they're not a savvy business person themselves. All the business guys here in the chat understand and they already get it. But the guys who've never run a business and they're probably like still in the real 9-to-5 mentality, and they probably work customer service somewhere where they're like, nope, I just sit on the phone in a call center and answer questions about Xfinity and Comcast. And that's all we do all day. And we actually don't answer 90% of the phones anyway. Everybody knows that. But you know what I mean? It's like, it's just a type of human that we're looking for who isn't necessarily coming from the baby steps on the mentality portion of this entrepreneurial journey. The guys who come to Washcon are the guys who are like very much have the aptitude to explode. They're hustlers. Right. They're guys who are going to attack this business. And what I've seen from the gentlemen and the ladies who have come to Washcon, because a lot of them are doing incredible numbers in like their second year. They've blown way past me that I did in my second year. What I found is they're the type of people who come, they listen, they write it down, and 2 weeks later, I hear about it in the inner circle that they've done like 9 out of the 10 things. It's like, if you're an implementer, if you're a person who is going to actually do what we talk about and you're really wanting to change your financial situation or to get more time freedom or both, Washcon is the place for you because you're only going to be around those people, right? That's what it is. It's a containered event for that type of mentality. If you're not a hustler, if you're like the example we had on here earlier, Mike Turman's one of those dudes. He's like, he's a killer. Okay. Mike Turman will kill. He will kill you. He will take out your business. Mike came to Washcon years ago and he's doing crazy numbers. Go ahead. Take it away, Cody.
What's funny is I'm supposed to have talked to Mike Turman a couple weeks ago. I'm pretty sure that I've got a missed Facebook message. I like Mike. He's a friend. Mike's given me a lot. Mike's bought equipment from us. I don't have the time to hardly get around and say, dang, Mike, I'm supposed to call you about whatever he's wanting to set up as a – Mike's probably going to set up as a wholesale contact for us in the Northeast. And we don't have time to get a hold of him. But yet we're supposed to have time to stop and talk to a random person who don't know what bleach is. But I was ready to buy a truck skid from you. You ain't know what bleach is. You ain't buying a truck skid. You like it. You ain't ready to buy a truck. You don't need one. You need to go sit down, get your legs together, think about your life, right? So this probably a young guy. He's probably sitting in his mom's basement eating Doritos, and he just wants to be frustrated at somebody because he's not where he wants to be in life. That's your own fault, right? We're here to give you that rude wake-up call that you can't call. There's nobody coming to help. Nobody is coming to help you. You've got to do this on your own. And if having to call Southeast Soft Wash to learn what bleach is and that didn't work out for you, if that was the roadblock that kept you from getting in this business and now all you know to do is sit there and cry on YouTube and you've got a channel with no views, like you're just a loser. I mean, we've all been losers at one point. It's okay, but don't stay a loser. Take that accountability on yourself because like a quick Google search would have done that. So learn from that moment, right? That nobody in this chat is agreeing with your perspective because these are people who are trying to go out and hustle. And they realize that there are things that you're going to have to do, that you can't just expect everybody to spoon feed you. We've had a ton of people come through our training, and the ones that make it and the ones that don't, it's execute. That is all it comes down to. You got to know what to execute. You got to know how to execute. That's Washcon. That's training. But then when you leave on that Friday or Saturday, depending on what ticket you got, when you get back on the plane or you get back in your car and leave out, it's up to you if you execute or not. So, we're here to provide you tools, man. That's all we can do. Execute is on you.
On the business side of things, though, it's all about what you put up with, right? Like, just to kind of relate this to you guys, like imagine homeowners that are like, hey, is there any way you could do the back patio while you're here, right? And sometimes you might give in, especially if you're early in your business. You might be like, yeah, we'll just go ahead and throw that in, right? It's all about what you put up with, and you're going to attract more of what you put up with. Me and Mike have had to deal with this with the app like a bunch of times, right? We'll get 1-star reviews either from guys hating or guys not wanting to work with us because we have put email automation in to send out that goes, hey, that we know there's bugs. What are the bugs? Send them to us. Send us screen recordings, all this stuff. And then we'll get 1-star reviews saying, oh, this is the most laggy app, buggy app, blah, 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 blah. All this nonsense when we're an email away. Send me a video recording. I'll have it fixed within the next couple days. But it doesn't matter. You have to let that stuff just run off of you because it's all about what you put up with. I'm not going to go after these guys and attack them and be like, you're lying on here and you're da-da-da-da-da, all this stuff about somebody who didn't even spend 5 minutes to look up any information about the app to see how it worked or any of the features in it or how to access the features, right? Like this app doesn't work. The free version doesn't work. It's all a scam. It's like, okay, great. I know where to put my priorities at. I know where to put my attention at. And you got to move that to the side. Go leave a 1-star review. Okay. It's a big world. We're going to have a lot more reviews. And I've had to learn how to prioritize that because otherwise it'll eat you up inside.
It'll consume you, dude. Like it will consume you. Like it's when we have guys that we build rigs for and they're giving me, $20,000, $30,000 for a rig. If they have a legitimate problem, so that's the problem we have is trying to decipher legit, thing that we need attention to and trying to make, cull out all the silly. And at some point you just learn that there's just a given amount of silly, out there. It's like you don't take it personal anymore. But putting systems in place, Mike talked about systems earlier. I'll give you an example of one that we put in place at the shop. tech support tab on the website. We put a tech support tab. Used to do it this way all day, about 30 phone calls a day. We put the tech support system in. Now we get about 30 tech support entries per month. So we went from 30 a day with phone calls, really annoying, to 30 tech support entries a month. That's a system that now, guess what? I can let that run. I can press play and it runs in the background. And if I go to sell the company one day, that's a metric I can show. Hey, this is the tech support on the back end, right? It's not verbal. It's not he said, she said on a yellow notebook paper. So just that system right there. And we try to, like Aaron was talking about earlier, Kaizen, there's another word that goes with that. It's Kanban. And it's looking for the things that bug you. Find the next thing and figure out how to get that out of your life so that you can free up that RAM and you can be profitable and you can be making money. You got a limited amount of time in a day and you sure don't want to spend it, talking to some silly person about their glitchiness with the apps. Like, bro, it's fine. Like, we'll figure it out. Like, that's how we have people that enter tech support tickets for equipment they built themselves with not our parts. You know what we do with those? I rip them in half and throw them in the trash because I can't call them back. It's going to be an hour of my life, and then I'm going to want to. I've got some HST Federal right here. I'm going to want to digest these afterwards, and so we don't do it. We streamline the business so that the business. You want to get to a place where you're working on your business and not working in your business.
So last point on this, and then we could wrap it. One thing that you guys are seeing, like another macro point, is the people that pay are the easiest, right? The people that make it easier, the easiest. You don't see a dude who bought a $30,000 skid from Cody in the comment section going, I called the other day and you didn't answer a question from me. It's always the people that are looking for the free handouts, for the free giveaways. Where can I get the free information? Why wasn't my question answered? Well, you didn't spend any money. And newsflash to everybody out there, you get what you pay for. You're going to get in direct correlation to what you pay for. The guys that come to Washcon, the guys that get the 2-day event, they get to sit down with us. They get to ask us the personal questions. They get our attention because they paid to get in that place. I don't care. You didn't pay anything. You just thought you could call in and get your question answered about bleach. And we can wrap it from there, but it's
real quick.
Yeah.
Brilliant, because I mean, we all deal with this on a daily basis. I get people that call my company, right? My pressure washing company, trying to get information about YouTube stuff, right? Like or they'll pose as a potential customer. I've been doing this, a while now, so I understand and I can see right through that. But you get what you pay for. And there's been about 4 people that in this stream of comments have been asking, can we watch a replay? Will you stream this somewhere? Can it be on YouTube? And the answer is no. At this point, we are not going to do that. And if we were going to do that, the tickets would be the same price, because the people that are coming to Washcon, they are investing in themselves. Not only are they buying a ticket, they are taking time off of whatever it is that they're doing. They are getting there. They're either driving or they're taking a plane. They're getting a hotel. They're paying for food while they are on the road to train themselves, to learn, to educate themselves, to better themselves, to promote their, get their business better. So with that being said, there is not going to be any live stream at this point. If there is, it would be the exact same price, because you're actually getting the same information, but you're not having to, put in the same effort that everybody else is. So
we could argue that the live stream would actually be more expensive than the in-person, because you're basically negating any of those costs. And that's why the people that come to these events are the most successful. They are willing to go over any barrier to entry to get the information. Can you imagine Mike sells the next level course, right? We have a next level course, lays out everything. Me and Mike built out, we recorded this course over the course of 6 months or something. There's so many videos. Mike literally breaks down every single little piece of the process on how he gets his quotes, how the customers fill out the information, all this kind of stuff. And all you got to do is go get it. But you got guys that try to backwards engineer by going through his sales process. If you shortcut anything, especially the learning, you're going to try to shortcut everything. You will never shortcut your way to being rich. And maybe that's a good, synopsis for this video. Don't take the shortcut, but rather the high road, if you will. I don't know.
Yeah, and execute.
Right, execute. Anybody have anything else you want to add on?
That's it.
All right, Washcon 2023. It'll be linked, first link in the comment section description. Check it out. Limited seats, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Hey, any word of the day for this one? Somebody give me a word of the day. What is
Yeah,
it?
execute.
Execute the word of the day. Comment that down below. Hashtag you're a real one. Until next time, also hard. Get that money, baby.